Hello, this is Don Milne. This video is entitled How to Save a Story to an Existing Fold3 Memorial. It's part of the bootcamp created to help people who are using Fold3 to create and save their stories for the Stories Behind the Stars project. The first thing you want to focus on is to decide what you're going to choose and what you're not going to choose as far as what you see available on Fold3. We don't want to choose a Together We Serve memorial. We don't want to choose a privately set memorial. We want to choose an existing memorial, such as one set up by Fold3. And once we have that set up, we will look at the 4 different tabs available on a memorial. So let's start and look at how we can tell the difference between the 3 types of memorials: the Together We Served, the privately set, and the existing memorial. So here we are on Fold3. We started off with the search feature. Obviously I signed in first. And then I'm looking for Daniel Bradshaw from World War II, and I know he's from Utah. So there's one other thing that we want to also do with the filter, but I started off here to show you one thing that you'll notice here. You'll sometimes see, if you are searching for these 3 attributes, this item right here, you'll see this little box with some names, and one of them will be highlighted, and it'll either say WW2 Army and Air Force casualty list or a similar written one for the Navy. If you see this, that means that they're part of the 2 books that were put together after World War II, sometimes referred to as the NARA Honor Roll for National Archive Record. So if you see this, that means you're probably going to find an existing memorial. Okay, let's look and add one more attribute here so we can see the different memorial choices we have. So we go over here to record type. We also check the memorial box. So this pulled up 3 different memorials for Daniel W. Bradshaw. This is the individual we want to add a story to an existing record. The first one here is one that was set up by an individual. The second one, this was set up by Fold3, and the third one was set up by Together We Served. We want to, by all means, avoid saving a story to Together We Served. And the reason for that is Together We Served is a different platform that is used to save stories. So if they're saved there, they automatically get transferred over to Fold3. So if you wanted to save a story into this particular memorial, we want to save it on the Together We Serve side. Because if you were able to save it, I'm not even sure if you can, but if you were to save it here, it would only appear on the Fold3 version and not the Together We Serve version. If a story is always saved on Together We Serve first, then this particular story that we see here on Fold3 is going to look exactly the same as the story as it appears on Together We Served. So let's become a little bit more familiar with the Facts, Stories, Gallery, and Sources tab. I've decided I'm going to add one to an existing memorial. This is an existing memorial here. We can see there's a Facts tab, a Stories tab, which is blank, a Galleries tab, which doesn't have anything in it, and a Sources tab, which it shows one document has already been attached. This is probably how this profile was created, because Fold3 had identified these enlistment records and they used it to create this memorial, but there's very little in it. It does have some information here on the Facts tab, and that was probably taken from the document here from the sources. So the nice thing about using an existing profile is a lot of the basic information on the Facts tab is already going to be there. Let's focus first on saving the story to the Stories tab. Sign into Fold3. If you're not signed into Fold3, you're not going to be able to save the story because it needs to identify who you are. Copy the story from your original writing platform to the Fold3 Story tab. We really recommend that you don't write directly into the Fold3 story, and that's because it doesn't have an autosave feature. So if you're working and something happens and you come back later, you may not have your story there anymore. So always use Google Docs, Word, some other platform, and then you won't be surprised and disappointed if you lose your story at some point. There are two pieces to the Stories tab, the title and the body. Now that I'm signed in, I can add a story. So as I told you, you put the title here and you put the text here. And as I mentioned, it's not a good idea usually to start fresh here, but copy and paste it from another source, which is what I'm going to do now. For the title, I'm putting Daniel Bradshaw, 44th Infantry Division. You can put more of a newspaper style story if you want there. I like to keep it simple. Ideally, you should put the person's name, whether it's their full name or not. Maybe I should put a W here. So that's the title. Then this is where we add the body of the text. So I've copied the text from the original source where I wrote it, and now I'm going to paste it here. And it's very simple, as you can see. This is why many of our writers like using Fold3, because it's basically, you don't have to learn a lot on how to use this feature. There, it's saved. The story's been successfully saved. So we now have a story on the Stories tab. The next thing we can do is we can save facts to the Facts tab. So many of the basic facts on an existing story will already be there, but you may want to add additional facts. And this is also the new way that you add the gold star designation. So you'll see here by the flag, it doesn't tell you that it has a gold star. I'm going to pull up a different memorial that does have the gold star. So here's a different memorial. This one has a gold star already. How do you add a gold star? That's what we're going to cover in this next part. So here we are on the Facts tab on this existing profile. So some of the information is already going to be here. Some of the things we notice that are missing are we don't have his rank, so that's kind of basic that we'd want to have in this story. And we don't have this designation you saw on another page that had this gold star. Now the gold star is a feature that's kind of unique to Fold3. And what that means is if it has a gold star, that means someone passed away while active in the military during a time of conflict of the United States. So in the World War II era, as defined by the Army, and we're using the Army dates because they're a little bit broader, that would be any deaths of military personnel between May 27th, 1941 and January 31st, 1946. So if they died during that period and they were active in the military, we can add this gold star designation. If you've also been using Together We Serve, they don't use that designation on that platform. And the reason is this is not an official award. This is actually something that is provided to a next of kin, not the fallen. We're going to identify this as a manually added fact. The fact type is award. So we're going to select award. And the award is gold star. So you start typing and it shows up there. And we're going to press save and add another. We've been successfully saved. And over here you can see it now has a gold star. Let's add something else to the Facts tab. During my research, I identified that he became a first lieutenant. So under manual added facts, we're going to select military service, branch. Use the Army. We can also select here World War II, and we can select his rank of first lieutenant. And if we had these information and we wanted to add that, we could do that also. Here it has the spot to add his service number, so I'm going to copy that over from its other source. This box here lets us put information about his unit, so I can copy that over from its source. Then I've saved that, so they're now on the Facts tab. So you notice something changed here, up here. This is the designation that shows he was a first lieutenant. And the information we added has been interspersed into the Facts tab. So there's not an exact standard of what you add. It's very flexible on what you choose to add or not add. Things like rank, things like service number, those are things that we would hope you would add, but it can get very granular and very time consuming. So whether you want to go to that level, add the battles they were in, information about the casualty, if he had marriage information, all this stuff can be added if you wanted to, but it's not required to create a story. Our focus is on the stories, not on the facts, but if you want to add that extra information to make it more complete, you're more than welcome to do so. Let's now learn how to save photos and other documents to the Gallery tab. So basically all you're doing is you're copying over from a save location, and you want to make sure you add the reference of where this came from. So here we have a gallery for the Daniel Bradshaw Memorial. There's no items in it, so it's easy to add. You just press add. And I recently had viewed these, but if I hadn't have seen those before, I could just do an upload. Select from my computer. There it is. The caption, I'm going to replace that with where that came from. I'll put the URL of where that was from. So if anyone wanted to go later and find the source, it's listed right here in the URL. I'm going to add one more photo. Super easy. I could either press the upload button, or because I viewed it before, it's recently viewed, it's saved for me right here. Add the description. And save. It's that easy. Adding photos to Fold3 is super easy. I can also go here where it says update profile photo, and I'm going to choose this one here that I have in my gallery. So now he has a profile photo that he didn't have before. So that's how you use gallery. Super easy. Now let's look at the last thing we're going to learn about, is how to save sources to the stories or the sources tab. So it's easiest if you save to the stories tab, because as you write your stories, you can just have a section there at the bottom where you list your sources. You can also save them to the sources tab, but it is important that you always save the Find a Grave URL to the sources tab. And let me explain how this works and why that's important. Here we are on the stories tab, and over here at the bottom we've indicated the sources we had for this particular story. And we made the special effort to put the Find a Grave reference right here. Now looking here on the Sources tab, we want to also make sure that we have the Find a Grave URL added here. So it's not listed yet, so I'm going to add a new source. And the type is a URL. So I'm just going to save it here. And I'm going to press save. And now here it shows up right here. And this is why it's important for this to be added. If you have a Fold3 story that is not linked, to Find a Grave, if someone uses the Find a Grave app to get information, there's no way to know that there's also Fold3 Story. But as soon as you've added this link, added this source, this Find a Grave source, to your Fold3 Story, it is linked to Find a Grave. So if someone goes to Daniel Bradshaw's cemetery in Ogden, Utah, they can pull out their Find a Grave app and scroll down, and they'll have a link to his story. Without this saved source, it won't show up. Super important then at this point that we add the Find a Grave reference as a source document. So that's what it takes to add stories to an existing Fold3 memorial. Thank you.